Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Whether or Not. We have some interesting updates on what is going on around our very own area, including the impacts of Florence resulting in a tornado outbreak in Virginia. And then we also have information regarding how much rain, the record-breaking rain that we have had in 2018, and how it has impacted some parts of our very own state. And then later, Matt has a feature on how the weather influences exercise. All that and more, Whether or Not, starts right now. Hello and welcome to Whether or Not. I'm your host, Bree Guy.
And I'm your forecaster, Jacob Morse.
So Jacob, can you give us a little peek into what is going to be happening with the weather this weekend?
Well, big changes are in store. First day of fall is this Friday, and that's appropriate because beginning Saturday and into the day on Sunday, we'll have a lot cooler temperatures into the middle 60s, so a lot cooler than we've been having these past several weeks.
Nice. The first day is fall, so we can all break out our pumpkin-themed drinks and pumpkin-themed decorations as well, too.
Definitely.
But we'll have more on that later. But first, we have nature in the news. Allegheny County Emergency Services are still responding to crisis due to the landslides and flooding in Pittsburgh due to the record-setting rain that has occurred in 2018. The area is particularly at risk for landslides and flooding due to the steep terrain and major rivers. The infrastructure of the city was built decades ago during drier times, and researchers are suggesting that the city has to invest a significant amount of funds into prevention. However, this comes as an issue as the city has to decide how much of their funds can be put into this, as they have already spent 5 times the annual disaster budget. Researchers suggest that small steps can be taken in the meantime, such as upgrading the old pipes and sewers that leak and add more moisture to the ground. Also, adding vegetation to the hillsides could help by strengthening the soil. It is pivotal, they say, to build new infrastructure with consideration of these problems and to hopefully collaborate with other cities that are facing the same problems to develop a good plan for the future.
From last Thursday through this past Sunday, Hurricane Florence battered the Carolinas with hurricane-force winds, storm surge, and record rainfall amounts. One of the most staggering aspects of the storm was how much rain it dumped on the Carolinas while it was stalled over the region. The highest rainfall total was recorded in Elizabethtown, North Carolina, where they received 35.9 inches of rain from Florence. The majority of southeastern part of North Carolina received over 10 inches of rain, causing flash flooding and many rivers to rise to record levels. For instance, here's a hydrograph from the Cape Fear River near Bargraw, North Carolina. It reached a major flood stage during the day on Sunday the 16th before breaking its record level on Monday and then finally leveling out on Wednesday, a few days after the storm was out of the area. This inland flooding cut off entire access to towns and submerged neighborhoods. Here in Pennsylvania, the continuing rainy patterns that we have been experiencing have caused rivers throughout the state, such as the Susquehanna River, to remain at levels that are much above normal for this time of year, as indicated by the blue dots on this map.
On September 10th, Energy Transfer Partners' Revolution pipeline exploded in Beaver County due to a landslide, destroying 1 home, 2 garages, a barn, and vehicles, while also forcing the evacuation of 30 other homes. Since then, Shell, another pipeline company with assets in Pennsylvania, has investigated and found 25 of their locations for their proposed Falcon ethane pipeline are prone to landslides. This pipeline will run through Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia, and 14 of those 25 locations are in Pennsylvania. Shell is currently building other oil and gas-related infrastructure in Pennsylvania because they hope to make the state a petrochemical hub. However, many people are concerned about the risk associated with this, especially after this explosion. If an explosion would occur, the blast radius is around 900 feet, according to one researcher. Also, it has been discovered that parts of the pipeline can be moved. However, Shell has not responded to questions regarding the project yet. The recent large rainfall amounts have caused many landslides in southwestern Pennsylvania, and people are concerned that pipelines that are currently being built can't withstand major rainfall events and hope that the Pennsylvania DEP will deny implementation of the Falcon ethane pipeline.
The National Weather Service confirmed that 5 tornadoes touched down in and around the Richmond, Virginia area on Monday, September 17th, ranging in intensity from EF0 to EF2 on the enhanced Fujita scale. The EF2 tornado that struck Chesterfield County had winds of 115 to 125 miles per hour and caused 1 fatality when an Old Dominion warehouse was destroyed. The tornadoes, which occurred during the mid to late afternoon hours on Monday, were spawned by the remnants of Hurricane Florence that were traveling north through the mid-Atlantic states. The showers and thunderstorms from Florence interacted with warm and humid air over the region, as well as experiencing high wind shear. Wind shear is the change in direction or speed of winds as you go up in the atmosphere and is one of the key ingredients for producing tornadoes. It is common to see tornadoes associated with the remnants of tropical systems, as Virginia has also received tornadoes associated with Hurricane Irene in 2011 and Hurricane Ivan in 2004, just to name a few. Hello everyone, I'm meteorologist Jacob Morse here with your Central Pennsylvania forecast. Big changes are in store for this weekend as a cold front moves through our area on Friday night, leaving us with a lot cooler and more fall-like temperatures for this weekend. Let's go to the maps for Friday. We'll have high pressure in control to our south, bringing in southerly winds, warmer temperatures for the day on Friday in the lower 80s. Also very humid for the day on Friday, dew points rather high, so we'll feel a little muggy during the day on Friday. The rain will hold off to our west during the day, but as we get a little bit later in the afternoon and more towards the evening, that's when a line of showers and thunderstorms will develop, and that could impact our area by the evening and overnight hours on Friday as the cold front moves through our area. On Saturday, that cold front is off the east coast, and we'll be left with cooler temperatures as high pressure is in control, bringing in northerly winds to our area, and we'll be left with mostly cloudy skies as well for the day on Saturday. Sunday, more of the same, mostly cloudy skies, cooler temperatures, feeling more fall-like for the first day of fall on Sunday, and that front will turn stationary to our south, and all the rain will stay to our south as well. So here's your forecast for the day on Friday, reaching a high temperature of 81 degrees, our last warm day before it turns a lot cooler. A little humid for the day on Friday as well, with a few of those late day thunderstorms going into the overnight hours. That's when we'll see the greatest chance for those showers and thunderstorms. The Storm Prediction Center actually has us in the slight risk for some severe weather, so do be on the lookout for that. We'll be reaching a low of 60 degrees on Friday night. And then for the day on Saturday, a lot different than Friday, 68 degrees for your high temperature with mostly cloudy skies. And then Sunday, the first day of fall, appropriately so, we'll only be reaching a high temperature of 66 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. Up next, Matt has a feature on how exercise is impacted by weather.
On this show, we talk a lot about weather and how it relates to science, but today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. Weather impacts many aspects of our lives, sometimes without us even realizing it. And one of those things is exercising. Whether you're a runner, you play an organized sport, or maybe you just enjoy the outdoors, there's a lot to consider when it comes to the weather.
I'm an avid runner. I run every day, usually about 60 to 70 miles a week.
Dr. Harrington isn't just a professor of meteorology. When he's not studying the boundary layer or cloud physics, you can probably find him training to run in a marathon. Dr. Harrington knows a lot about optimal conditions for outdoor activities.
Usually we like the temperature to be between about 45 and 55 really. It's actually really pretty perfect for running. You usually want the dew point to be pretty low as well. You want it to be dry, so that way you actually evaporate when you sweat. If the dew point is close to the actual temperature, then you're not going to evaporate. The sweat just pours off of your body. And so your cooling mechanism, your internal cooling, is not very efficient at all. You're very efficient if you can actually evaporate. So we like the dew point to be low. The relative humidity should be low. If we can bring that down to about 20%, that would be beautiful. It doesn't happen all that often here in the east, especially in the summer and in August. Dew points can be very, very high and close to the temperature. So that's what we really like, is that kind of temperature. Then running is cool, you can run faster, and it's much more comfortable.
Summertime weather can be quite volatile here in central Pennsylvania. In fact, it was the wettest summer on record, so naturally there were some challenges when it came to outdoor activities.
Well, in the summer, one of the difficulties is actually avoiding storms. I really don't like being out there running if there's the chance for lightning. Any possibility for lightning is problematic because, of course, that's incredibly dangerous. With all the rain we've had, that produces its own difficulties. Flooding is an issue. And streams overflowing, your shoes get soaked with water, making them heavier. That makes things more difficult. And if it's raining all the time, then the humidity is very, very high. And again, you don't cool down. So it's pretty easy to overheat. Even if it's overcast and the temperature is, say, 75 degrees, if the relative humidity is 100%, even though the sun's not beating on you, you can pretty easily overheat while you're out there running.
Another problem during the summer months is the stifling heat and humidity. There are many precautions to take when exercising in those conditions.
Hydration. That's really key. You can very easily overdo it. If I do a very long run, if I'm training for a marathon and I've got 20 miles, and this is pretty typical, many runners will do this, is we'll drop water or electrolyte drink or something somewhere along our route, or make sure that we go by a convenience store so that we can walk in, which maybe they don't like because we're all sweaty, but walk in and actually just buy Gatorade or something, once you're maybe halfway through your run. So those are things that I do typically, just so that way I don't end up in a situation where I'm dehydrated. I also make sure that I get a lot of fluids after I'm done running, because you can easily lose 3, 4, 5 pounds just of water weight. Especially even if you're running 13 to 15 miles, you can lose that much weight.
Now that autumn is knocking on the door and cooler weather is right around the corner, how can we stay in shape when the weather says to stay at home?
I'm one of these people you'll see out even on some of the worst days running. One of the things that's nice about the area that we live in is they actually do treat the bike paths if you wait long enough. They get salted, so that way people can actually bike into work. So I'll actually go out and run on those once they've treated the paths, no matter what the weather is like. Even if the temperature is minus 20 and the wind's blowing, I'll go out and run. I'll make sure that I wear windproof gear. Make sure that and windproof gloves, windproof hat. I'll take a lot of precautions to make sure that I don't get any frostbite.
Whether you're as versatile as Dr. Harrington or you're like me who goes to an indoor gym, one thing is certain, you'll have to plan ahead for the weather. For Whether or Not, I'm Matt Hoenig.
I'm back with your extended forecast, but first let's take a look at your weekend recap. So for the day on Friday, we're expecting some of those late day thunderstorms into the overnight hours is when we'll have the greatest chance for some of those showers and thunderstorms to come into the central part of the state. 81 degrees for the high temperature on Friday. A lot cooler for the days on Saturday and Sunday, 68 degrees on Saturday and 66 on Sunday with a mix of sun and clouds. And then let's look ahead to next week. We can see it'll be an unsettled pattern, chances of showers and thunderstorms most days. Not any of these days will be washouts, just a few of those scattered showers and thunderstorms in the area. A lot cooler temperatures as well, only in the low 60s, reaching the mid 70s on Wednesday, but then dropping back down into the lower 60s for the end of the week.
So Jacob, it is going to be a much cooler but dry weekend.
Yeah, definitely we'll be staying dry this weekend. The
Okay.
rain will be staying to our south. Definitely not as much rain as we saw last weekend when we were dealing with some of the remnants from Hurricane Florence.
Okay, and we've actually mentioned Florence a lot throughout this episode, but earlier in the show, we asked you what was the total number of people in North and South Carolina that were without power during Hurricane Florence. Was it A, 800,000, B, 1.7 million, C, 7.8 million, and D, 10 million? If you answered B, you are correct. As of Wednesday evening, Duke Energy, the major power company in the Carolinas, had restored power to 1.6 million customers out of nearly 1.7 million total outages during Hurricane Florence.
114,000 Duke Energy customers, most of them in North Carolina, remain without power on Wednesday night, with many of them located in coastal and inland areas that experienced historic flooding, multiple road closures, and significant structural damage. Duke Energy expects to restore power to most customers by the end of the day on September 26th. We're hoping that those people get their power back soon.
I know, it's just been terrible and sad of what has been going on down there.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. But that is all that we have for you on this week's episode of Whether or Not. Again, I'm your host, Bree Guy.
And I'm your forecaster, Jacob Morse.
Have a good night, everyone.